Tamangs are one of the most ancient population of Nepal. They were first population among others cultivated who settled in the southern Himalayan plains and the valleys. In terms of language, they speak language called Tamang. Is the name with which Tamang themselves also identified as an ethnic group. My name is Mukta Singh Tamang. I come from district called Kavre. I studied anthropology in Cornell University. Currently, I teach anthropology in Department of Anthropology in Tribhuvan University.
Pardo, Choshi, Nyebar, Kowa, Shi Jawa Shukso.
They call themselves Tamang Yulba or Tamang peoples, and their territory is called Tamang Yul, and more recently it's also being referred to as Tamsaling. Four historians agree that they were the most ancient and indigenous native peoples in the valley. They believe that Tamangs arrived in Nepal, southern part of the Himalayas, long time ago, probably last ice age. During this centuries of history, they have lived with the nature in the Himalayas and also developed their culture. Tamang society is organized on the basis of division called Rui. The Tamang society has got originally 8 great clans. These clans are organized into the groups which are considered as belonging to the same clan. The clan, according to Tamang belief, comes from your father that you derive your bone, and from your mother you derive your flesh and blood. If you belong to the same group, then you never marry with that particular group. And then you have to find another clan group to marry. And the mother comes from that group, or your sister goes to that group. And it is through that that they make very strong bond, a strong relationship with other clans. When a man marries, then a woman comes to the man's house. But when women comes to the man's house, the man must do certain things, appease or to satisfy the wife's parents and also wife by providing, demonstrating you as a qualified person to be able to get the wife. At the time of the marriage, the brothers of the women would say that we have given you her body, her beauty, her skill to you as son-in-law, but her bone is still with us. So be careful. Anything happen to her, we are responsible. So that means like the Tamang women, when married to a man, their brothers still are there for her protection. And because of this brother's protection, women's status in the Tamang household is also very strong. So that it's unlike other patriarchic system where men would dominate women. In addition, women can bring the gift, any wealth given by the parents when she moves to husband's house, and she can own that particular wealth as her own. If she decides to marry to another man, then she can take that wealth too. And therefore, in village life, you will see Tamang women work as much as Tamang men, and therefore retain their equal status. Sometimes in Tamang society, women are regarded as higher even than the men. Architecture is an art. If you destroy the art, then it's a loss for all the human civilization and culture, right? Because the cultural diversity actually is a source of creativity. In 2015, there was a devastating earthquake, which was actually concentrated in the Tamang region. So more than about 40% of the people who died during this earthquake were actually Tamangs. Gatlang village was one of the villages where you could see traditional Tamang architecture. The mechanism, techniques of building house was intact. The house was built with the skill. I mean, if you look at the wooden craft, and if you look at the roofing structures, and also if you look at how they make the wall, they structure the inside house structures, that was very traditional.
Ngala minja Navraj Mokhtan. Nga 26 वर्ष दाजी. Nengna minja Rasila lama. Ini Tamang ina.
Kini khoje?
Ngai eda rupta होला ngai वर्ष bli daji.
थोरै भनौँ न
Ngani पहिला Facebook rupta ji, aja Facebook rupta jinani. Ngani la pardila, ngani da. Tam गर्दा चाहिँ ngai nanan thera man pardiba हैन हजुर त्यसैन खाना मन पर्दिबा त्यता भई nganin la pardisi sentai bisam tare samajri tamang samajri gorni छामे दिन छम क्यों दिन छामे प्रॉब्लम रांगी bisam आज बस होती बा तेरा भाई गांचे बे लगी परसबी बासनी हम दिखा
चिनी लागेको छैन दानी
हाल्ने छैन त
गिन्न हाल्यो तोरी
अघि नहाल्नु भने होइन
हाल्यो भने
अब नहाले के खाने के हाल्ने हाल्ने
र यहाँसम्म आएर बाहिर हाल्ने
यहाँसम्म आउनुपर्छ र
बाहिर गएको छैन
Yambu jam ngai yambu jaman mula tara yambu ri mi gadai lanan mula जारी छ यामबरी चिबा एकदम मन पर्दिबा दाइबी यामबरी जमन कुरो सुविधा ऐसे चिबरी गाह्रो मला तर नाम सबन जाम याम्बु लानन च्या होला मला ऐसे भविष्य नु यामबरी मुला नाम सारी बन्दा ऐसे यामबरी ती मुला बिसम रांगला के गदे जमन यामबरी दाला ऐसे थिरा भाई कमाई दिबा जमन कुरो यामबरी दावे चाहिँ नाम सारी बन्दा यामबरी च्याबा
Soy Ignacio, mi padre me llamó Lagar y todo el mundo me llama Lagar desde entonces. Soy el coordinador de trabajo, del campo de trabajo aquí en Nepal. Soy un poco el que viene todos los años a organizar el curro y aquí se les ha quedado también y también soy Lagar, Mr. Lagar, Lagar Tamang. Conoces este sitio, escalas, vives con ellos, tal, te vas y pocos meses después te enteras de que hay un terremoto que ha sacudido el país, especialmente la zona donde yo había venido a escalar, el Valle de Langtang, todo el distrito de Rasua. Y bueno, de repente fue como una necesidad de ayudar a toda esa gente, ¿no?, que había sentido tan cercana. Gatlang era un pueblo muy cerrado. Antes el tráfico de vehículos no llegaba a esta zona. En este caso estamos a 20 kilómetros de Tíbet. Lo siguiente que hay más al norte son montañas. El tiempo es algo que prácticamente no existe. Aquí existe el pasado, pero el futuro no existe. El futuro no existe, no se sabe cuándo se va a morir, no se sabe cuándo... Y aún así, si murieras, te reencarnarás en otra vida, ¿no? Son personas súper hospitalarias. Es peculiar, ¿no? Comen todos los días lo mismo y no se cansan de comer, no añoran tener otra comida, ni comer mejor, ni añadir un ingrediente. Gente que tienen un umbral del dolor, del sufrimiento elevadísimo, ¿no? Duermen en el suelo, son capaces de andar descalzos sobre la nieve. Como mucho, a lo mejor un día se ponen unas chancletas, unos calcetines. Un sitio donde exista el problema que exista, la gente sonríe, ¿no?, y siguen adelante. Algunos historiadores coinciden en que esta etnia viene de los Chiunnu, o los mal llamados por los europeos hunos. La traducción literal de Tamang se deduce en hombre de los caballos, hombre que comercia con caballos, o el hombre que vive en los caballos. Te dicen lo que piensan, se expresan tal y como son. Tú puedes llegar a una de sus casas, ellos te dan un cuaderno y te dicen apunta lo que has comido, cuando muchas veces ni siquiera saben leer y tampoco sumar. Aunque quisieran, no existe engaño.
My name is Tamang. I am from Gatlang and I work in the tourism. I have a guest house. 2015 it was by earthquake, so the house are damaged. 30% is collapse and 75% it was damaged. We would like to build reconstruction same design, but this government doesn't allow. So this village is one of the dog village. It is cultural and natural and traditional. People love this village. In Langtang region, there is one of the Tamang heritage trail. And then one of the best village is Gatlang. People like to keep traditional houses, and then we are very proud about the traditional things, you know. Tourists visit this village.
La primera vez que fui a Nepal fue en el 2001, después de 3 años de estar en España. Yo había cambiado y me daba mucha vergüenza cómo me viesen mis familiares de allí. Me sentía y hacía cosas muy occidentales, ¿no? O jugaba al estilo occidental y de repente me encontraba como con mi pasado. Lo recuerdo con mucho nerviosismo. No sé cómo explicarlo, pero muy emotivo. Mi nombre es Mina Gale, pero actualmente me llamo Mena Heredia en España. Mis padres de España se llaman María Victoria y Alfonso.
Ese es mi pueblo, mi querido pueblo.
Nací en un pueblo muy pequeñito, situado en un valle que se llama Goljong, en la región de Rasua, en Nepal. Tengo allí mis tíos, que son los que me criaron, mis padres de allí, vaya. Somos todos de etnia Tamang, pero todos conservamos cultura tibetana, y somos budistas. Como allí la región era muy pobre, me dieron en adopción y llevo aquí en España aquí desde hace ya 20 años. Lo recuerdo como muy rural, o sea, de estar jugando siempre con piedras, perseguir mariposas.
Todos tienen el mismo origen tibeto-mongol y son pueblos muy independientes de la montaña, ¿eh? No tienen nada que ver con la capital, que la mayoría son hinduistas. Langtang pertenece al Parque Nacional del Langtang. Es el tercer trekking más importante de Nepal después del Everest y de los Annapurna. Hay que subir un paso que está a 2.200 metros del Valle de Langtang, con lo cual esos pueblos han estado totalmente aislados del turismo durante años y años y años. Cuando yo llegué a esos pueblos, por supuesto no había ni agua, ni luz, llegué a un lugar maravilloso, pero ya parado en el tiempo, como tiempos bíblicos.
In the middle of 18th century, Tamangs, they were destroyed by the conqueror, the king, called Prithviraj Saha. As a conquered population, what they did was they continued to resist and rebel. And then they become part of the modern country called Nepal. During the conquest, their lands were taken away by the political leaders and the army generals of the conquerors. Their political autonomy were lost to the powerful community who controlled Nepal. And also they were culturally sort of discriminated because they were looked up as the Bhotes or the Tibetans, non-Nepalese, for which Tamangs kind of continually struggle that they were the ancient people, they were indigenous, one of the first ones to cultivate this land and culturalize this region. A result of this historical, defeat, Tamang suffered economically. Economically, they are still very poor. A lot of absolute poverty among the Tamangs, and also low level of education. Ways of namings are many different ways. One simple way is to give name of the day of a week.
मेरा नाम लागपा तामंग मेरा नाम लागपा तामंग लागपा
मेरो नाम फुर्पा
मेरो नाम pasang lamu शेर्पा हो I am Penda.
Namaste, मेरो नाम निमा तामाङ.
My name is Dawa Tamang.
Ngai min marima. Ngai abi min kasang dawa yimba, kasang dawa. Ame min purpa wangmo. Aba je dindu cek mo ba, ojo cha ba. Ase ama kemyama je laba cek. Ase yopta cha laba. Ngai ro, ngai aleni yimba. Themin ram. 2012 yang se 12 ki bele yang se dena bar suru dabla khema kheti rangi kheti pa de laba sen khema dena ba lijam guide tabo khamla bangbi Nekorin yang di Songare tagging cire sata pastin sam. Tere dena bi ni lijam kair tabo kamba dena bu gaya dena bu yang se dena bi jam se kair taba. Nepal ni dalpat parijaba dalpat secek Popi branda ba, alba sam dalbat kenja ke tabi karan se lolom tobam chaumen momo chamantang ba ta se dalba se gadi Popi brang achar ba peking je jawring jabagla kangmar do ba dom yang beding jabagla ma krum yang beding je mai cham yang ji Anababiachi. Sangul kaban agari tim jidagi mbla samashe negodaji nozrang bidim dere are sangul so umsiri jor tadam jeno tanga imba tangi lagiri tadam jella dochi klama kruni haji ta haji Rang datang mazam kesma rang khaire rang kru kham jela koi mi se da dena budengi guide ni da neko pharak laba je heti barang batarang batla baren podarta min zamana gi no de danga ta ja ojo man ngada akho jamada barabar la do guide labari neko tardi che doblem tam che doblem taragai che ashe tame nitija ba ashe tar kaldu bairi khairin ground ma khabla jab jayimba khale no de ne ko na nya kha zamano yang jana ni khaba yang jale ne brani khaba to khe ma ligo da ba ligo de khalde na na nya kha ati ko le khalde ne brani kha zamano de wali brai memba
I came to Nepal first time in 1998 when I was doing my studies for my master thesis. My name is Hans Andersen. I live in Copenhagen in a flat here in Christianshavn. I'm married to Angela from Nepal, and we have 2 kids. We met in Nepal 10 years ago.
Ja, jeg ved ikke. Det var godt. Skal hun ud og gå tur? Hvad skal hun så?
Nepal is an extraordinary country, and there's so many good things to say about Nepal. It's wonderful, but still, you know, when you start to talk about the earthquake, for example, you can't help get sometimes a little critical and negative because of how this whole process has unfolded. When I did more research during the Maoist conflict and worked in Nepal that's back in 2006 until 2008. In 2015, after the earthquake, I did some writing on it. Oran, my brother-in-law, and I had already created a website, Local Nepal Today. We wrote, of course, on the earthquake and tried to see what was happening and follow the developments. Oran made some small videos about what was happening in one particular village that we really like, where you had all these traditional houses completely demolished.
People are not literate enough. They are not aware of the art of architecture. My name is Arun Chalise, and I'm 45 years old. I'm still involved in Local Nepal today as a local reporter, but presently I'm focused in my own documentary which I'm making. Local Nepal Today is an online magazine. We try to include the stories of the local levels, what is going on in the local level, and we try to cover various subjects. We're trying to understand their story by documenting the interviews, and at the same time trying to tell them what we think about it, you know. That particular day of the earthquake, I was shooting in a forest near Pasupati Temple. It was also a shooting about street children in Kathmandu. As soon as the tremor started, the monkeys, I think all the monkeys from Pasupati Temple started coming towards the hill. They were all going towards the hill. It was interesting to observe that the monkey somehow knew that the earthquake is, it's coming, yeah? I was just about to hit the record button and ask the actors, these little kids, to do what they're supposed to do. And suddenly the tremor started. forest, I could see the cloud of dust coming here and there in the Kathmandu Valley. So one old building in the Pashupati temple had collapsed. It was a terrible moment. The kids started crying and chanting the God's name, you know. It was terrible. What can I say, you know. We were surrounded by the forest, so we could see nothing what's going on outside the forest. And the trees were collapsing each other. The floor of the forest felt like a blanket. It was like a wave, you know, as if you are standing on a blanket and somebody doing like this, you know. It was so terrible that as a photographer, I was supposed to, you know, hit the record button and let it go on, you know. But I couldn't do it. I stopped the camera and started calling my family because I was so worried. And you know, the Dharara collapsed, some of the temple, Basantapur collapsed, a lot of houses, a lot of people, you know, dead. Right after the earthquake, I went to a village in Palanchok, which is 55 kilometers from here. We used to go and visit a particular village frequently because it was really beautiful. Then, to my surprise, all the houses were down. All the houses were completely gone, you know, the entire village is gone. People were telling their stories, how they suffer. The houses were collapsing as if the bomb had, bomb fell and boom, you know, everything coming down like that. And they could see the cloud of dust. One house gone, another house, you know. It was like that. I had this connection with the village, their architecture. It was always a pleasant feeling visiting those houses. I had developed a bond with that village in a way. And it was the same with every people who have been there, you know. They would go and take pictures sitting in front of those old houses. So seeing that being devastated, you know, nothing was left, and seeing people crying, and it was really bad. It was really bad.
La tierra empieza a hablar, a moverse, y que da igual donde corras, porque no hay escapatoria. Ahí te das cuenta de la magnitud del tema, ¿no? Y de lo pequeños que somos y que intentamos tener control sobre las cosas y al final no controlamos nada. Me llamo María, soy de Mallorca, llevo 5 años en Nepal, en Katmandú. Y desde entonces pues formo parte de la organización Allí Nepal y también trabajo como profesora de español. Es algo que realmente te marca y lo pasé mal. Pero mirado un poco con distancia y a largo plazo, aprendí muchísimo de ello y creo que fue muy positivo para mí como persona en cuanto a crecimiento personal y de experiencias. Al menos a mí, después de esto, soy mucho más consciente de los peligros de todo y de que en cualquier momento hace la vida un clic, te cambia y se acabó. Creo que eso a lo mejor te hace estar un poco más presente.
Cada 100 años pasa. Ya que saben que va a venir otro terremoto en 100 años, ¿Por qué tienen que construir en el mismo casa, mismo sitio, donde ya está destruido todo? Y va a pasar otra vez. Pues al ser una parque nacional, la parcela de tierra tiene que pertenecer a tu nombre para reconstruir. Y hay mucha gente que no lo tiene y por eso reconstruyen en el mismo sitio. Yo no puedo construir una casa aquí en Cabo de Gata porque me da la gana. Mi nombre es Pasam, vengo de Nepal y vengo de Langtang, que está a 4.000 metros de Katmandú. Vivo aquí en España, en Andalucía, estoy trabajando en un hotel. Mi marido es Valentín. Nos conocimos en 2011, cuando él estaba de viajero allí en Nepal. Y también tengo una niña de 1 año y medio. Ha nacido aquí, es muy pequeña y quiero que aprenda de dónde viene, ¿no?
Nos encontramos con muchas trabas, muchas barreras, más que nada por el gobierno español, que en esa época pues, había cerrado fronteras y no dejaba entrar a los inmigrantes de países pobres, ¿no? Y aunque no estábamos casados y todo, pues simplemente nos dijeron, iros de aquí, no os vamos a firmar la... Nos trataron muy mal. Quieren que trabajen y todo eso para ayudar al país, pero a la vez no quieren que usen los recursos de la seguridad social. Y hay mucha gente en Nepal intentando venir a Europa para estudiar, porque tienen negocios con unos motivos reales, que a lo mejor tienen familia aquí y no les dejan, se lo ponen muy difícil, muy difícil. Vemos esos países y pensamos, hostia, qué raro, tienen ahí unas castas, ¿no? donde uno es un paria, qué sistemas de castas más raros, aquí no los tenemos, ¿no? Pero en verdad sí que los tenemos, porque va en condición a tu dinero, ¿no? Depende del dinero que tengas, te tratan de una manera o de otra. Y si eres una persona con pocos recursos, que no tienes mucho dinero, pues te van a despreciar.
En mi infancia no pasaba ningún turista por el pueblo, eran como casi aventureros, algunos pasaban por allí y yo me acuerdo que vivíamos casi salvajes. Todos los niños corriendo por aquí y por allí y cuando veíamos los turistas los padres decían, mira, viene un blanco que te va a llevar en la mochila. Esto era como darnos miedo, ¿no? Y nos veníamos a esconder. Si empezamos desde Langtang, de Langtang a Trishuli, por ejemplo, son gente de cultura hindú. No hay aceptación, pero vivimos en armonía. Esto sí, no hay ningún conflicto. Si tú eres hindú y yo soy budista, respetamos uno al otro. Y la zona de Gatlang, Goltong son Tamang. En la zona de Langtang ya consideramos como Sherpas, porque ya vivimos un poquito en la montaña.
It was terrible, terrible some part, some region. In Kathmandu, there is also terrible. Gorkha district, but there is Barbak village. There is also terrible, and Langtang region. There is more terribles. All things are damaged or destroyed.
Langtang quiere decir la tierra de yaks. Su capital, donde estaban la gran parte del año, era Langtang. Y allí es donde se hacía la vida, las fiestas. Todo el mundo, aunque por temporadas fueran a vivir a otro lado, tenían su casa en Langtang. Era el campo base y donde se conocían todos, donde se juntaban, como su pequeñita capital de montaña, ¿no?
Langtang es un valle muy especial. Hace unos 30 años, Langtang era el último pueblo de todo el valle, ¿no? Es un pueblo situado a 3.400 metros.
Y eran todo casitas de piedras bajas, con sus grabados típicos de madera, de su cultura, y todo se vivía de una manera muy tradicional.
Langtang era un pueblo muy grande, lleno de vida. No era un pueblo pedanía en el que se hospedan solamente turistas. Langtang tenía una fábrica de pan, Langtang tenía una fábrica de quesos, Langtang tenía un colegio, un centro médico, un monasterio. O sea, era un pueblo y había vida, ¿no? Aproximadamente unos 160.000 metros cúbicos de hielo cayeron del Langtang Lirum, una montaña que está pegada. La avalancha arrastra piedra, arrastra todo tipo de materiales y sepultaron el pueblo. queda sepultado debajo de metros y metros de escombro, ¿no? Y bueno, desaparece por completo.
Everything kind of starts and ends in the villages. Being in the villages in that situation was a way to experience how Nepalis handle a very difficult situation. It's a way to really get to the soul of Nepali society.
Esta gente trae una cultura milenaria, ¿no? Y una arquitectura milenaria. Gatlang era un pueblo que estaba en una afluencia de turismo creciente y después del terremoto, pues bueno, hay un gran cambio, ¿no? Hay un gran cambio en el aspecto. De repente llegan muchas cosas, esto está cambiando muy rápido. Esta arquitectura está prácticamente desaparecida y Gatlang, antes del terremoto, era un auténtico museo de esta arquitectura, ¿no? Poco a poco las siguientes generaciones van perdiendo su identidad, ¿no? Una cosa no tiene que ver con la otra. Es decir, creo que uno puede evolucionar sin renegar de lo que es, ¿no? No se necesita ser como otra persona cuando ya eres una persona de las más auténticas del mundo. Antes del terremoto en este pueblo estaban súper orgullosos porque era un pueblo en el que quizá había 4 tejados de chapa, 5, entre unas 500 casas. No había apenas plásticos. Era Black Village. Después del terremoto, las desgracias son un negocio, ¿no? Por una parte se intenta ayudar sin conocimiento, como me pasó a mí al llegar aquí. Por otro lado, pues los gobiernos, las empresas, el sucio negocio que hay detrás de la colaboración y de la cooperación internacional.
For a village, after the earthquake, whomever I talked to, they were telling me that we lost everything. We have nothing. We have nowhere to go. Because our entire life was brought up in this village.
हाम्रो पनि दिवाली थियो अहिले भोलिपल्ट दिवाली थियो अब दिवाली दिवाली अब मान्छे त यस्तो भयो अब दिवाली चाहिँ गयो बाबु.
Since we don't have our house, we have nothing,
आवश्यक घर त के छ हामीले घर बनाउन पर्छ हुन्छ मुख्य कुरा बास चाहियो मुख्य बास छैन हेर्नुस् हाम्रो बासै छैन अब कहाँ गएर बस्ने भने ऊ घर पाटा भन्दै चाहिँ अब घर यो कहिले पन्छाउने कहिले के गर्ने हो बनाउनु भनेर हुन्थ्यो भने नि.
De repente un montón de organizaciones traen plásticos, chapas para tejados, plásticos para paredes y con unos palos, algo de bambú. Con este material se construyen unas casas provisionales, lo cual puede ser una idea excelente, ¿no? Pero ¿quién se lleva todo esto de aquí luego? ¿Quién se lleva todo esto? El pueblo es un vertedero de plásticos y chapas ahora por todas partes.
Everything had changed in terms of the houses, infrastructure, and how people lived. Some had started to erect concrete houses, but most people lived in temporary shelter.
In the beginning, it was all about clearing the rubbles, clearing the debris. Children were getting sick, catching flu easily. The water and sanitation and everything was not there. The toilets were not there, so it was really bad. It started really bad. First in the tent, yeah.
People somehow manage, and it's incredible to see how they can piece together a shelter, temporary shelter, and make it livable for a family with children. And does that mean that they have overcome all the challenges? Not at all. But they can survive and they can make their everyday life function.
It affected them very deeply, and it's been there for generations. The entire family were brought up in that house. A grandfather and a grandson, were brought up in the same house, same community. And we could see the happy people living in those houses.
As I said, it's the design, architectural design, that was used from the long, past, which has a, attachment, emotional and sentimental value as a cultural heritage that gives them the sense of identity, right? That's also another point is that this is also an art. So the loss of art, loss of the design is one thing, and also sense of belongingness and sense of attachment is a kind of loss there, right?
Okay, it would cover from the all side. But then in the summer, it was like you couldn't sit there. Whenever I went inside, tried to take the picture in the summer, if you just sit for the 10 minutes, then your whole body heated up along with the camera. And winter was the worst because at night the dew drops was falling on all the bedsheets. If it rained, then it was a heavy noise, rain falling on the tin roof, and the students couldn't do their homework properly. And since they were all living in one room, so they were cooking in the same room, there was no proper ventilation, and they are not sure how their new house is going to be. It was really bad. It's still bad for a lot of people, still living in the same condition. Whereas in Kathmandu, we live in a concrete house. In summer, we have to have a fan constantly, maybe, and in winter, we have to have a heater. The house itself, is not made, the weather-wise.
The architecture that you see around you just now here is the architecture which our ancestors had done. The only changes are that to make it more livable, more comfortable, the heights have changed. This is the architecture of Kathmandu Valley. And my husband saved all these old carvings which were being burnt, cut, destroyed. After they were restored, it was just lying around, but we had to use it and to preserve it. And to do that, the buildings were built. And it was built according to the old system. And this, my husband started, and then my daughter came in to do all this. Both are not architectures, it's just the love for this, from the feeling from inside that has created all this. My name is Ambika Shrestha, and I come from Nepal, and I'm living in Kathmandu. I am the honorary consul of Spain, so I represent Spain and the Spanish people here. The Kathmandu Valley, the architecture and all these buildings are the Newar culture. Outside in the villages, there are different ethnic groups. They have their different styles and their different architecture. And the architecture is because of the position where they are, where the landscape is, and what is available there. And if you look at the houses up in the mountains, the roof is made of slate because slate was available. And it's stones, not bricks, because they didn't make bricks there. So each house has a different feature. They had the fire in the center, and they cooked there and they sat around there. So the house was kept warm with that.
Hay una parte de nepalíes interesados en la cultura española porque precisamente a Nepal viene mucho turismo español, de montaña.
Perdón, 6.
Se preparan cada vez más guías que puedan hablar español y que puedan entender y compartir con los españoles, ¿no?
¿Del Army? ¿Del ejército?
Integrarme en la sociedad nepalí no creo que haya sido especialmente difícil. Es muy fácil en el sentido que es muy hospitalaria y buena, yo diría. La mujer normalmente es la que lleva todo. Es la que lleva la familia, es la que lleva la casa, es la que lleva el campo y es la que lleva los animales.
De los hijos, de cuidar del ganado, de ir a buscar leña. Lo hace todo, pero a la vez depende del hombre. Gracias a la educación, pero ya veo un poquito más de igualdad.
Estas mujeres cavan, pican, que hay que portear, pues estas mujeres portean. La mujer es totalmente el motor de la economía del pueblo tamang, por supuesto. O sea, no tengo ninguna duda. No se puede generalizar tanto con los hombres, porque hay hombres que realmente dan muchos problemas en la familia, muchísimos. Sobre todo en pueblos en los que no hay recursos, en los que no hay salidas, en los que hay bastante pobreza, pues el recurso fácil es el alcohol. El alcohol local que lo hacen ellos, con lo cual no se tienen que gastar ningún tipo de dinero.
Mujeres en Nepal no tienen casi voz. Por ejemplo, en mi pueblo mismo lo hablo, ¿no? Un hombre puede estar sin casar toda la vida, pero una mujer no puede estar sin casar. Si tú eres una madre soltera, ya tu niño no va a tener identidad, no va a tener nacionalidad, ya no existe tu niño.
The times have changed, and in the villages, the women are much better off than in Kathmandu or in the cities, because they have to do everything themselves, so their position, they work. So they have more of voice there. And now, especially in Nepal, what is happening is most of the young people are going abroad.
Los hombres se van 7 años allí fuera, dejan a su mujer en la casa con los niños, él va a ahorrar y trae dinero y se construye una casa o se construye o ponen un lodge, un hotel, fuga de maridos, ¿no? O varones.
Women are coming forward. All the young girls are really coming forward now.
I'm here in Kathmandu to study, to make my future bright. My father is outside of country, he is in France. My mother is at Gatlang, she is running a hotel. My name is Nima Jangba. I'm 15 years old. I study in class grade 9. I'm living with my grandmother, sister, brother and me myself. We also study here and we go back to our village and we work there. I want to be a bank accountant. It's necessary to prepare for the future. We should study and do work as well. I'm doing all the household things. Before, Tamang girls are married at the age of 15. Parents were not well educated, and they don't know about the future of the girls. And they think that the girls are only for the house. I'm not planning to marry. I'm going to continue my study, and then after study, I'll think about it. Big families are separated in different places. My father is in France and my mother is in Gatlang. So it's very difficult for me to handle the household things and to study. I need to do both things at the same time. So I miss them and it's very hard.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is visiting Nepal with how to help the Himalayan country rebuild topping the agenda.
In June 2015, right after the earthquake, there was a big donor conference in Kathmandu. Many different international donors, India, China, the World Bank, European, pledged huge amounts immediately to the reconstruction process, but also to humanitarian aid, of course.
The government of Nepal said today it will need the help of the world.
O secretário-geral da ONU, Ban Ki-moon, anunciou que a organização está a preparar grande esforço de assistência ao Nepal.
A ayuda humanitaria ha comenzado a llegar a ese país. At that time, when the earthquake happened, a lot of countries came in to do help. They did help. They came in, Spain came in with a big team. And they did help in searching, in looking at things, and helping the people. Also to restore their houses, how to do it so fast so that they could live there. They did do it. Many countries did this.
How much of this money has actually arrived? Definitely not all of it. It has been criticized that the donors have not actually laid down the money they committed at that conference.
Of course, it was also promised that this would be given, but that is very slowly it's coming in. Very slowly.
Architecture in Nepal is very rich. It's a kind of art which is directly related with our society. Not just about how it has to look, but how it has to function, how it has to serve. If we study our culture, we can find out that our ancestors had modified small things. It is obvious that some changes are inevitable. If change is necessary, we have to change, but the identity cannot be compromised. I am Suraj Khanal. I'm from Nepal. I'm an architect. I worked private, I worked for government, and I also involved in Nepalese Architect Society, which is called Society of Nepalese Architects, SONA. I also working for the activism to conserve our heritage in Nepal. We are very much close to the outside world after this earthquake, so we are modifying ourselves. So that has definitely some effect on our architecture. A safe house is one of the most priority of humankind, but the house has always been connected to their daily life.
Nepal has a very corrupt and inefficient administrative system. Whenever a new government takes over in Kathmandu, you'll see them changing the chief officers in many of the districts and transfer and shift staffers around. And in return for that, you also see staffers collecting illicit fees and commission and bribes from citizens that they service.
Whoever went to the power, they didn't want to serve people without overlooking their benefit. People prefer or prioritize their own contacts. Those people who were discriminated, who had no contacts with leaders or who had nothing to offer.
And then the government decided, okay, we need to create a separate organization to manage all these funds and to distribute it to the people. The National Reconstruction Commission was not formed fast. From 2015 until 2018, the NRA had 5 different chairmen. They only agreed on December 25th that year on how to structure and organize the National Reconstruction Authority. Then they could start working.
In the aftermath of a disaster, a robust recovery plan that puts the needs of communities first will ensure minimal disruption and save lives. Pre-assigning resources and operational tasks before a disaster takes place will ensure that reconstruction can begin as soon as possible. Community needs following a disaster must be immediately attended to. Clearing stricken areas provides an opportunity for thorough reassessment of risks and to build back better and more resilient. Integrate.
Brought in by NRA, this theme, Build Back Better. I've always questioned in the word better. How do we define better? Defining this Build Back Better is, I think, the key factor to convince people which way is better, the concrete way or the traditional way.
The NRA told people that they should use salvage materials from their houses, like wooden beams, galvanizing sheets, whatever they could find, to rebuild. They had not yet decided that they had to use concrete and bricks. But there was a lot of talk about building earthquake-resilient houses, because everybody knows that in future there will be another earthquake. Different NGOs had different designs. And the NRA called on architects in Nepal also to send in suggestions so that they had something to choose from. What would be the best design? The NRA ended up choosing a design that was much more expensive.
The families are really in a very difficult situation. For these, there are 2 approaches that we have adopted, because they are vulnerable, most vulnerable people, and then they have to work for day-to-day. We have decided to provide the extra $500 of the extra grant, the out of the regular grant that is being provided to every these earthquake-affected houses. So that is one approach, providing the extra funding. And secondly, important is also that providing the socio-technical assistance to them, how they can really make their houses safe, how they can really initiate the construction of their houses, and at the same time the community support from the community level by the people themselves, and then then so that they will be able to start the construction, for which I think the government and the NGOs and the partner organizations all have to work together in that program.
People did not like the designs that government imposed on them. There were so many donors, the agencies, who were giving their own designs to build houses where they donated. When we provided them as a part of SONA with model houses that our architects had gone to the area and they did research by themselves, which was possible to build with all salvaged materials that remained from the house that fell down. The NRA engineers, they did not agree to our proposal. Even though they selected it, later they refused it. So there was conflict between what people want and what the donor want. That created a gap between the authorities and the local people.
De repente se ofrece una ayuda, con la ayuda de algunas ONGs y con la colaboración de algunos bancos nacionales para que reconstruyamos nuestra casa. Ostras, qué bien.
To rebuild, government engineers designed 17 types of models, house models, that are resistant to the earthquake. A household can choose any of that, and they can rebuild, and the government engineers can supervise and approve whether it is in line with the principle or not. But unfortunately, people in the villages were not allowed, not able to choose one of the design from 17 options because they didn't have money to build the way that they want. They had to choose the one that is possible to build with this government support.
To what extent we have been able to have a system which will be ensuring that the houses have been constructed with the safe construction technology, for example, for which the different 3 levels of the tranches of the disbursement of the grant, housing grant, that has been designed. Yeah, I think that will give that sort of impact in the future. Yeah,
it was decided in the NRA to distribute the reconstruction grant of 300,000 rupees in 3 installments, and that is the equivalent of around $2,700 US. The first installment would be 50,000 rupees. That's around $450 US. It's that small amount of money. The second installment was 150,000, and the third and last installment would be 100,000 rupees.
Pues nada, hemos estado hablando con un chico que nos ha explicado todas las reuniones y todo lo que han tenido que hacer hasta conseguir tener más o menos unos modelos oficiales de casas. Por ejemplo, esto sería la casa más simple, con solo 2 habitaciones, una habitación y una cocina comedor. Y aquí al otro lado ya vemos una con 2 plantas. Están haciendo 2 modelos, 2 demos de estas casas para que los locales entiendan cómo funciona, cómo se hacen los cimientos. Son casas que han intentado que sean mucho más resistentes a terremotos y al viento y a posibles avalanchas. Y el problema es que estas casas salen mucho más caras por el cemento, que hay que transportarlo, traerlo, es muy caro, y hay que poner barras de metal para la estructura, mientras que las tradicionales son solo de piedra y madera. Como veis, aquí los chicos están trayendo un montón de piedras, las traen en esas plataformas de madera cargadas a la espalda, pero para hacer una casa de estas como las del modelo necesitan muchos otros materiales que no pueden encontrar aquí. Los locales que decidan hacer este modelo de casas van a recibir del gobierno, en teoría, unos 2.000 o 3.000 euros, depende de la casa que elijan hacer. Eso en verdad no cubriría ni el cemento, ni el transporte, ni nada, pero bueno, es una ayuda más.
When they were designing various models for earthquake-resistant houses, they never consulted with the villagers. They never take into consideration of the cultural and traditional architecture and design and art. They just devise these houses design based on the modern engineering and architectural knowledge that they have learned in the universities and colleges.
In the countryside, there is different kind of house design. We would like to provide the similar than past year, the houses, all traditional house, but government doesn't allow it.
It would cost at least double of what they would distribute to people. Actually, now they were no longer allowed to use traditional materials.
Traditional house, there is not cement. Government thinks it is a technical system or like earthquake design. That's where the government put the small room. People understand, but it is very small, and that's where it doesn't enough the space. 3 by 3 meters or 4 by 4 meters, about the 2 rooms. Means there is a very small room.
But many households didn't have that money and they just went with this small brick house.
Well, any architect in Nepal who knows how much is the cost per square feet when you build a new house, also in the villages, and it's quite clear that this is not enough. But nevertheless, knowing that it's not enough money, then it was decided still to follow the 3 installment system.
Los materiales tirados en el suelo, otras se quedan como para un toilet, otras como caseta para ganado y otros, los más afortunados, van al banco, piden un crédito y se acaban gastando pues unos 15.000 euros, 20.000 euros y ahí podemos seguir sumando. ¿Para qué? Para tener una casa de 2 pisos totalmente de ladrillo y hormigón. Una casa fría, una casa sin vida, una casa sin identidad, una casa que no es Tamang. Este pueblo está perdiendo la batalla contra el hormigón, contra el ladrillo y poco a poco está desapareciendo la cultura a la vez que se pierde la batalla. Cuando llegué a Gatlang después del terremoto, claro, traes tu idea occidental, ¿no? Hay que mejorar esas viviendas, hay que hacer otro tipo de viviendas, ¿no? Veníamos con un montón de pajaritos en la cabeza. Analizando la situación te das cuenta de que después de lo que he visto en Katmandú, después de lo que he visto en otros pueblos, la construcción Tamang ha resistido relativamente bien para estar tan cerca del epicentro. Incluso en muchos casos mejor que casas más modernas, ¿no?
I think the government officials, they don't know about the need and importance of the traditional architecture and the culture of the people. The discussion on preservation or rebuilding of the cultural heritage is very limited. There's no person in that committee to see that particular portfolio. So government needs to put a cultural expert to see, to advise and to plan in that. Only engineers and economists or whoever, planners is not enough.
So we are working very closely with the local governments, but there are lots of tasks that have been devolved to the local governments. For example, the technical inspection the engineers have been devolved to the local governments. The integrated settlements that have now been implemented by the local government themselves. The certain community level infrastructures will also be implemented by the local governments. So we have all thinking that the local governments will be the key institutions for the reconstruction onward.
To get the first installment, you first need an engineer from the district level to come and look at your project, approve it, and sign that this project can be done.
Llegan unos tipos, unos seres que parecen haber llegado de otro planeta, se llaman ingenieros, y dicen, bueno, pues ahora para que sigamos dándote el dinero tienes que hacer la casa en esta manera. Incluye hierro, incluye ladrillo, incluye cemento, incluye hormigón. Esto conserva la cultura, conserva la tradición.
Quite a few victims had already started to build their traditional house again, thinking that they would be compensated, that later they would be reimbursed and get the grants after having built the house. But because the NRA now changed the requirements and the guidelines, then they were told that you cannot be reimbursed because you have not followed the guidelines. Well, those who must have been happy about the new guidelines were those providing cement.
Gatlang era conocido por sus bosques y bosques de árboles. Allí la gente se despierta a las 5 de la mañana para ir a buscar leña porque tienen que tener una buena guarnición para invierno o sacar a su ganado a pastar a las 8 de la mañana, aunque sea invierno. Creo que a ellos no es viable porque ya empezando porque la población ha aumentado, los bosques han reducido, el tejado que antes se hacían de madera, ya a lo mejor si lo hacen igual no tienen bosque suficiente para todos los tejados de las 300 o 400 personas que habiten ese poblado. Entonces ya a lo mejor entra medio ambiente también dentro del problema.
For several months, almost 2 years, they went to government officials and said that we would like to build our houses, which follows the traditional architecture, but at the same time resistant from the earthquake. So in order to make that, we would like your help. And the government engineers and officials said that, okay, we will offer you the design, which is earthquake resistance, but at the same time similar to your traditional architecture. But unfortunately, government engineers never could come up with that solution. Instead, in last December, I think, government issued a notice saying that if the families do not take the help, the money offered by the government at the end of the year or something, then the money will not be there for them, so they cannot take.
And then the next issue that they would face just to get registered as victims, you first had to prove that you owned the land, and you also had to show your citizenship card. Many of the victims didn't have that at hand. It's very common that you cannot really prove that you own the land, you just live there, but you don't have a landowner certificate. If you didn't have that, then you couldn't sign the agreement. They had to somehow get these documents. And that was a big hurdle, because to get the documents, you would have to go to the district town, to the relevant authority, and apply. And just that journey to the district town and back again could take a long time and cost money also. So it was not an easy thing, even just to get registered as a victim. Some even allowed supporters to register as victims even though nothing had happened to their house.
Nepal no es como la India, el orden de las castas y eso, pero sí que, por ejemplo, van a ayudar más a un seresta, que son de la casta alta de Nepal, que a un tamang, que viene de un poblado perdido de la montaña.
When the earthquake happened, everybody applied. And of course, that's like everywhere in the world. Some people are not really the true ones, and they also applied, and they also got the money. And for the poor people also, that money was used for their own upkeep, because they lost everything.
Claro, cuando tú eres una persona pobre, ¿no? Que lo has perdido todo, has perdido tu casa, todos los enseres que has acumulado a lo largo de tu vida, incluso los que has heredado, han quedado sepultados bajo los escombros, el ganado muere, incluso familiares, ¿no? Y de repente llega alguien y te da 500 euros, pues te los gastas.
Porque claro, estamos hablando de que de repente tú un día tienes casa y al día siguiente no tienes casa. Entonces hay que partir de la base de que estamos hablando de gente que no tiene o no toca, en muchos casos, dinero. En el momento en el que se da la primera parte de la ayuda, con $500, pues mucha gente tiene otras necesidades. Ya empieza a darte a ti, a tu familia, para independizarte o para construirte tu vivienda temporal.
When the NRA was formed, when it finally came to work, then it was decided that we cannot trust the identification of victims that has been carried out at the local level, so we have to do it all over again. So the NRA decided to conduct a huge survey in the affected districts, involving hundreds of engineers and technicians who would go house to house and register the damage on people's houses, how severe it was, and who was entitled to get support from the NRA to reconstruct their houses. And it took almost a year to complete that process.
But in Nepal, we ensured that all the houses are getting this support from the banking channels. We ensured that. And if there aren't any banks available in the remote areas, we ensured that the bank branches are there. We ensure through the central bank, coordinated with the central bank. So that means that there is the access to the finance to the people. Not only that they are getting the money at this moment, but also there is also financial access to the people, and they have already bank account over there, and they can use that bank account in the future. So
they recognized that this was a valid survey. The results could be trusted. So they knew who the victims were now. Knowing who the victims are and recognizes that these are real victims, why not just give them the 300,000 rupees so they could start rebuilding? What else would they use the money for if they have lost their house? This is the system. You have to follow the 3 installment system. We always do that in Nepal, so we also have to do this to distribute the 300,000 rupees.
Many of the money allocated for the earthquake reconstructions were spent on the salaries of the staff, engineers and overseers and so forth, and also many for other logistic purposes. Could have been given directly to the families who were being affected. So in that sense, the money which the government has received or allocated has not been used to benefit the affected in a more proficient, more efficient ways.
En el momento en el que viene la segunda parte de la ayuda, tú tienes que demostrar que tú te has gastado la primera parte de la ayuda en hacer la cimentación. Estamos hablando de gente con niveles de alfabetización muy bajos, entonces de repente les venía muy grande hacer pues esas colas de ir a un sitio a otro, a la oficina de la municipalidad, presentar unos papeles que no saben dónde están, no saben lo que son, y que de repente tenían que pedir un crédito al banco para hacer la cimentación para poder así acceder a la segunda parte de la ayuda.
El dinero es algo que bueno, no se comprende. Dale 500 euros a un niño, ¿no? ¿Cómo devuelves ahora 500 euros si nunca has tenido nada? Si nunca has tenido nada, te hacen un regalo y ahora te lo quitan, ¿no? Se entregan, pasa demasiado tiempo hasta la siguiente entrega y ese dinero ha desaparecido, ¿no? Esta gente no piensa en futuro. 500 euros ahora, bien, mañana, ¿para qué?
I was in Gatlang last March. I stayed there for a couple of weeks. Villagers didn't have enough money and also didn't have this design in line with the traditional architecture and at the same time earthquake resistant. They were forced to, build. Either they have to give up the assistance given by the government, they decide not to take, or check the assistance and build the house, whatever is possible from that money. And what happened as a result was that they built this small, houses, one-room houses, which is 3 meter by 3 meter about, and one story, which is basically looks like useless. Now, because of this one-story, tin roof, brick buildings, the village, Gatlang village, which was very beautiful in the beginning, now looks like patches and very ugly sort of ghetto.
Kathmandu Valley used to have all these authentic old houses, beautiful to look at, really comfortable to live in. It's not there anymore. My own house is concrete, the cement. I think it is the worst thing you can have, all these toxic chemicals being used. So it is really bad for your health, Maybe utilizing the local materials and making it earthquake proof, Still having the old one, blend in.
My name is Jalbu. Grandfather Tibet, so maybe coming Langtang. 7 daughters, 3 sons, 10 children, father, mother. While here's this little bit job, cow food, village, now maybe it's cracks, maybe little bit problem.
So let's say you are a victim, you have lost your house in the earthquake, and you live in, typically many victims lived in remote villages. From there it could take anything from 2 to 6 hours and maybe longer to get to the district town, for example. In some districts it could take more than a day, even 2 days to get there. Then first you need to call the engineer to your village to check your house and see that you are ready to build to check your ruin and see that you're ready to start building a new house. And this process will follow with the district unit telling the district controller and then the bank to transfer the money into the victim's bank account. There, the problem often is that the victim doesn't have a bank account. And the bank is in the district town, maybe. So it takes a long time to go there. To get the bank account, you need to show your citizenship certificate. And not everybody has that. And to get one, you have to go through this rigid administrative system where not only might it take a long time to get the certificate, staffers might also ask for a commission or an illicit fee if you want it to go faster. That's quite common.
Cost is very expensive now, rest of the money, so people loan from other friends or other people, because the cost is very expensive.
So you have this crisis situation where people don't have a roof. They have a roof over their head, but it's a temporary shelter. Some don't have a roof over their head. And then you have the first monsoon coming, the second monsoon coming, the third monsoon coming. Why not speed up the process, forgetting about this 3 installment system, and just get the money out to the victims so they can rebuild?
Yo creo que el gobierno, en realidad, en muchas partes yo pienso que ni saben que existen o ni quieren saber las opiniones de la gente.
There is some problem for government to convince the donors because of the inefficient way they performed this reconstruction process as a whole. Day before yesterday, we had a speech from our CEO from NRA. He was again complaining that so many friends, so-called friends or donors, promised to contribute for NRA. They haven't. That would probably be the reason. They can't work the way they want. That is the fact. Nepal is just full of debt. No one will help without taking some benefit. India and China, like, they're growing with all their economies. We are all sandwiched between both of them. They want to show it to everyone that, oh, we care for Nepal.
Nepal has adopted a new constitution, the first full-fledged one in the Himalayan nation since it became a democratic republic in 2008.
Me parece que fue en septiembre de 2015 que se aprobó la constitución, la primera constitución nepalí después de la guerra y del tema de la finalización de la monarquía y tal. La constitución no declaraba a Nepal como un país hinduista, que antes sí que era declarado o era conocido como el único país del mundo, me parece, si no me equivoco, oficialmente hinduista. India no lo es, ¿vale? Aunque se procese muchísimo el hinduismo, no lo es. Entonces, India, que hasta entonces había tenido una influencia brutal en Nepal, no entendió o no le gustó, no compartió los términos de esa constitución. Entonces, de una manera indirecta, se inició un bloqueo. Eso que supuso pues, efectos, incluso se decía, yo leía en los periódicos, más devastadores que el terremoto, en cuanto a economía, pues que no podían entrar medicamentos de ningún tipo, gas, gasolina. Un litro de gasolina en aquella época costaba unas 500 rupias, que venían a ser como unos 4 euros y pico, aquí en Nepal.
My name is Chulgu Tamang. Then I live in Shah province. My not village here. I born is Tulushabru, and my papa mama is Tulushabru. We have no job for there. I buy to the plant, but house, then everything broken. I quit them. Then difficult to life. I went here 6-7 years already here. I make money for rent, then I will pay rent. My hotel owner is living to Kathmandu, then I pay for the Kathmandu. Sometimes good business, sometimes no business. Then problem for my life. I like to make my house, but problem for the earthquake, that time broken my house. No money, everything expensive. Stone, steel, rock. When earthquake coming, then 12 o'clock, something like that, we launched that people working, then broken house. Then now all people making already new house. Rich people is here, many rich, then poor people is many poor. All people have helping people, Germany, France, they help for money. They collection, then send for the Nepal, then they want to make house already now. Now it's better. Many car, many jeep, then no possible, small way, they cannot, then two way, up, down. One up and one down, then cross, busy. More tourists also coming here now. Many Chinese people coming here. China coming, road broken, then our plant broken, but they don't give for money. Before, long time before, China government and Nepali government talking, then government is bigger, yeah, we small, then they cannot, how can do, then not give money. China, it's not good. Road is China government and Nepal government long time before they asked already for the make this road. Then now he asked maybe 8 meter down, maybe 8 meter up. Then highway is maybe not now, maybe long time, not now I think. When road coming, then all people move, but all people making house it's already now. But we don't like a big road, but government all us, all thing already, then not our choice, that is government choice. But people like this road is enough. All have house, then broken, then what to do. And all people like this road is better. But China people and government they like to the big road. They ask for road making to China to Nepal. This enough for road, all people like.
When a village in the Himalayas gradually opens for tourists and then it develops as a tourist market. Initially, the villagers would work on like homestay and little restaurants, little, lodge and all that. But once the tourists become more and more, then what happens is that the people with more money from the cities, they would go to that area, sometimes buy the land and they build a big lodge, and then they make all the money and then take the money away. And so villagers remain poor. For that, in that sort of situation, they also, because they are powerful, they take the help from the government as well. So the villagers remain outside of the government help. They also remain outside of the income that may have come from the tourist.
Husband, children, this died, this earthquake, this Langtang village. This my 2 children, 2 small children, Kathmandu, school. Hello, Langtang, yeah, my husband no, this my one, this house building no. Hello, the sang bezoen. Sang rope and meva, sang be, this wood cutting, sing ture, machigrang to kunge, sang be zure, tene address, this nangla, zo tolera nangla zo. Yeah, competition, yeah, my no, small lodge, business no, this 1, 2 people, this sleep, this business no, this site, this address no, taller no, this business no. Kim zoen lagi di biangle lon langma, tranga mevji ale.
The NRA is only doing the rebuilding, they're giving for the rebuilding. But for the preservation of the culture, it's not their doing. But I'll have to tell you something, that now that we have a federation and we have different states now, each state has a minister for culture, so now they are looking into it. It's their turn to look into what is in their place.
Government is now aware of conserving this heritage of all the indigenous communities. This awareness hasn't come yet with Tamang people themselves. These ethnic groups, they are coming ahead. They are trying to go out of the country to work, to earn money. They cannot earn enough to sustain living in the country. So that is creating this emptiness in their community. Also making them like town-centric. They are more centered to come to the town, live there and ignore their village, ignore their local house, the traditional house. So that is another part that is affecting by the effect of globalization. Those concretes and those modern materials are that they do not comply with the theory of perishable architecture. Once they get destroyed, they cannot be reused.
नमस्ते, हामी बिलचेन्ज नेपालबाट अहिले हामी यो नुवाकोट जिल्लाको भाल्चे भन्ने ठाउँमा छौं.
There are some agencies like Build Change Nepal which innovated the new style of conserving the traditional vernacular buildings using those metal structures, metal columns and bands to retrofit the old buildings to make them stand still.
We have a group of the team about the technical support team, and it is same design for mountain people house by earthquake system, and it is same house, but we put more materials and more beam materials, very useful for the mountain people.
Después del terremoto de 2015 empiezan a reconstruir las casas y a raíz de conocer a Lagar, pues empezamos a venir, empezamos a conocer los proyectos que están haciendo aquí. Hasta el momento estamos dedicándonos a reconstruir casas para que tengan un techo. El caso de Carto es un caso especial. Es una mujer sordomuda. Para esta casa no estamos reconstruyendo una casa, no teníamos ya previamente piedra o madera, materiales para construir, sino que es una persona que directamente no tiene casa, vive entre 4 chapas y 4 maderas. Hemos conseguido un terreno y a partir de ahí estamos haciendo la casa.
La mayoría del modelo son casas de 640 por 640 a 2 plantas. La planta de abajo se suele utilizar para ganado, como secadero. La parte de arriba es la vivienda, ¿no? donde toda la familia comparte, normalmente tiene una habitacioncita pequeña en la que allí tienen su oratorio, ¿no? Donde tienen sus figuritas sagradas, sus velitas, etc. Y luego el resto, pues toda la vida se hace junta, ¿no? Se tiene una chimenea de barro tosca en la que se hace fuego, se cocina, se duerme alrededor.
Pasang minda tamang 20 वर्ष 3 जना परिवार आने बहादुर नोरियाङ pasang minda tamang जम्मा 8 जना परिवार म दिमडी brie ngada akobotu concrete ki team.
La arquitectura es súper importante y es una de las pocas cosas que les queda, digamos, que les representen, ¿no? Que les recuerde lo que son, ¿no? Y de dónde vienen. A veces, si tuviéramos un poquito más de honestidad, ¿no? Y perdiéramos un poco nuestro ego occidental, ¿no? Lo dejáramos un poco de lado, nos daríamos cuenta de que ya hay cosas que están bien hechas, de que no todo lo que hacemos nosotros está bien y de hecho que muchas veces influimos de una manera negativa, ¿no? Supongo que nos queda mucho que aprender, pero con el tiempo ha sido un poco el caso, ¿no? Con un poquito que se aporte a veces, ¿no? Un refuerzo en esta esquina, un refuerzo en esta otra esquina, un contrafuerte aquí, mejorar el cimiento allá.
Yo creo que sí que se está perdiendo identidad cultural, pero no solo por la construcción de un tipo de casa u otro. O sea, yo prefiero que ellos estén como que sigan conservando sus casas pero lo mismo no es lo idóneo para ellos, ¿sabes? Todos quieren imitar a Occidente, imitar a América, todos llevar vaqueros, empezando por las chicas jóvenes, mis primas más pequeñas, ya no llevan su vestido tradicional. Yo creo que tú puedes coger lo bueno de los dos.
The houses will change because in those houses now, as I said, in the mountains, the fire was in the center. Now that is not practical anymore because the fire was wood fire. You used wood and you cut trees and you cut branches. But that is not something that we can do now because of environment and because of the forest had to be preserved. And for the woman, if you have wood fire, it hurts you, your lungs, your eyes, and for the children too. There have been many, many accidents because the children fall into the fire. That will make it much more easier for the women and much more environmentally better as well as health-wise better.
People don't know and they need, somebody else need to tell them or aware them at least, and how important it is to preserve their old houses, old culture.
The identity of that community has to be kept alive. So that's where we need to talk to them about it. Give them that it shouldn't be a cement block, which they see all around everywhere. So this is something that is very, very difficult and which we are trying to inculcate, to talk to the people, to keep their identity. Nepal is a country of gods. Everywhere. It's not a monument. What you see around is not a dead monument. It's a living thing going on because people are going there worshipping. Every morning you see women and men going to these different places, even to the little a stone in the village that's said to be one deity. They will worship that. So that is living. Tourism is one of the most important things for this country because every state, every little village, every little town has its own little speciality. And a foreigner, a guest, would love to stay in a house that is like the old days. That is a homestay. not one of the cement buildings. So I think it will come slowly, but it will take time for the people to realize. Of course, the cement houses are fast. However, the old system was easy. So that has to come back. They have to feel that it's available there.
Es una pena que no se conserve esa arquitectura tradicional que le da un valor al lugar y que al final el turista, sobre todo el turista blanco, el occidental, viene en busca de autenticidad.
Government is also interested in tourism, and they know that tourism can be attracted only with the local culture and local heritage. Unfortunately, when we talk about our culture, only big temples in the Kathmandu city, they wanted to rebuild that in the name of culture.
Of course, it is being lost a lot because the young people do not understand, and of course it's very much now the responsibility of the elders to teach their children, to talk to the children. Not teach, but talk to the children and explain to them about the culture and why it is important. When people come, when tourists come and appreciate the old houses, they will see.
I like my Tamang culture very much. It's unique and traditional. There are different houses, different festivals, and different tradition. I like the dress and language of Tamang culture. For normal day, Tamang girls usually work all the day, every week, every month, every year. They go to work to cut grass, to pluck potatoes, and do household everything. Yeah. About Tamang culture, I don't like that they discriminated boys and girls.
Ngala tim gari namsa. Ngala बिचारी जा नामसा जुन सुन्दर हिसाब से हावा पानीले हिसाब से जावन मुला हम जमन चावा दा मुला तरे जमन आवाज गदे आरे शान्ता तापुला भिलेजले लाइछम नामसरी जा के लानन गारो उठाउला छोरी रेसी मामी जम्मन कुरो रांगला कर्मन लाला पूजा पाठ लाला त्यही बिचम छे खान भर्नी बा फुर्सद आधा बा तिमला धन्दा गरे यदा दिला बा ती जम्मन टाइम गदे बिति बताउला तेदा भाइ लानन गार दमुला आइसम जुन निगादे अशिक्षित निना अशिक्षित भएछम जमन कुरो अभाव ताला जमन कुरो अभाव त भएछम मिगादे जमन कमै दिबरी याम्बरी निबा अनि थेजेमा खाला यादबा ngala tim jam sangul lisangai songi sangul lisa song meledi sarkar sisa nganda zaman lari jun aba che khan ba हैन अब बाख्रा न चाबरी निबा अनि थेदेबो न तर नामसरी तिम सङ बेलरी भाडा आइसम सामान गदे पावदा लानन पैसा खर्च दबौला तै बिस क्याम आजेबा आइसम थारे जमन नामसल मिगादे जा पहिले युङमा दिन्छम सापला तिम सङ महिना अनि युङमा दिन सापला तिम पहिले जा छ्वाली से सापला तिम दबौला धान्दे जा दाइ बिसम मिगादे नामसल मिगादे ला जजागी बलियो तिम तोबा ताम दबौला बलियो तिम से दसिमामी ते पहिला ला पुरानो तिम साब्र युङमा तिम भन्नु Hands up, left. जुन फेरि नो हागिङ नेपाल चाहिँ चिजागागा सहयोग लाबला मुला रमा दे स्कुल निला 10 बदी भइसे सोच मुला nga darim sama sebari nga fully sama sebari nga lakti ji sama sebari lakti bhai mi gadele dukha suga hanai ti laba zaman lajma am chala ngala za ngala mena ngala lahela lichala ke ja ngala rangla samajri jun jamadan फाइदा daba ke gade lala rangala सोच मुला नाम सरी जा शागदे रागदे थाला मुई थाला तर मुई था बेलरी जमन पढी जाबो दमुला भाग लाई दिस मामी दाइ बिसम नाम सरी पसल आरे मिल्दिसी मामी जमन मिल्दिसी हम थासी मामी रंगसिन चला ngala bizari da zaman tamang samudayale migare da rangla sanskriti rangla riti rivaj zaman jogai didoji tamang la culture ja andesamma jun purano परिपाटी पुरानो जुन चलन गर्दै जाम विस्तार मा भन्ने थिन्जी थे भित्ररी थे नांगरी मुजाम ताए मुला चाबा ताम्नु मुला आजाबा ताम्नु मुला तर ngala जुन रहनसान परिस्थिति ngala जुन रांगला रीतिरिवाज जाम विस्तार लोप तहि निमुवा बिरंगा मंगादा Tamang culture zaman Tamang la sanskriti riti riwajri rangla
I miss living in the old house. My uncles, my grandmother, my grandfather, they used to live in an old house. And I know the feeling living inside those houses, you know, how it was. So it's the same for the people in the village, you know, not having their old house. It's really sad for them. People started building concrete houses. It's not the same. It's not the same feeling, you know. The house is not breathable. They're just following what other people are doing. If they are building a concrete house, they're building a concrete house themselves without realizing the consequences. They were smart people, you know, they knew. But in the last 30 years, I would say, you know, I don't know where we got this architecture from, you know. Suddenly people started building concrete house. Maybe we should just, you know, build the similar types of house in a stronger manner, you know, using the local material instead of having a concrete jungle, you know, matchbox types of houses.
नेतृत्वको निरन्तरको परिवर्तनले हाम्रो पुनर्निर्माणलाई यसले समस्यामा पार्यो र त्यसलाई जुन गतिमा जान सक्थ्यो जान सकेन। अब तर मेरो फेरि पनि कुरा के हो भनेदेखि पुरानो कुरातिर फर्केर यो थियो भयो भन्ने खालको कुरामा जानुभन्दा म के चाहन्छु भने एउटा सकारात्मक ढंगले उहाँहरुको जसले काम गर्नु उहाँहरु सबैको पनि तपाईको चाहिँ क्षमता योग्यता अनुभव जे छ त्यसलाई समेत पनि लिँदै पनि त्यो उहाँहरुको त्यसलाई पनि चाहिँ यसमा समायोजन गर्दै
that people are waking up about their own little groups. Now homes are being built, and you'll find that especially in Gorkha, the people are building it, the local people. Langtang, they are coming up with it. They are rebuilding the houses. There are hundreds which have not been rebuilt. See, people are still living in little sheds. And all that needs to be done, but it'll take time.
We cannot imagine the community today in the globalized world, that they remain isolated. They get influence from the modern ideas, but at the same time, they also get more conscious and aware about the importance of the traditional ways of living, because this gives them the sense of identity, sense of belongingness, Instead of just being like lost in the big modern world, there will also be more awareness and more consciousness to preserve the culture.
I think it's high time that all the elders now talk to the people, not teach them, but talk to them about it.
Hay gente que ha nacido para luchar. Sí, se siente impotencia, se siente frustración, a veces te dan ganas de mandarlo toda a la mierda y largarte a tu casa, que muchas veces no vas a ganar. No lo sabes hasta el final y es muy probable que nunca ganes. Pero cuando has nacido para luchar, ganar o perder no te importa, ¿no?
Nepal is now rebuilding, it's coming back. It's not still in ruins. I think there is a big hope that it's not only going to be big cement buildings, but also they will think of their tradition and their old culture.
Al final, cuando sales a la calle y vuelves a pasear, te encuentras a esta gente, lo que queda siempre es su sonrisa.